Having any fun yet?
Let's get it done.
Hey, thanks for clicking this morning only after school podcast. I'm Trent Kelsey.
And I'm Jesse Johns.
How you doing today, Trent?
I don't know. You tell me, Jesse.
Oh wait, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to myself there.
Oh, yeah.
Geez. Oh geez. I don't know who you think's talking to you, Jesse.
Well,
Nah.
why don't we talk to some of these guys? We were joined by. Why don't you reintroduce yourselves, fellas?
Yep.
Yeah,
All right, well, I'm
I'm
Leeson. Teeson.
Gotcha.
Keth Serkman.
Jeff
Right.
Kirkman.
Yep.
It's good to finally meet y'all.
Yes.
Bear a striking resemblance to some of our previous guests, but they're losers. We won't talk about them.
Oh,
There you go.
really?
This is my lame twin. No one
Guess
cares
not.
about
No,
him.
I'm messing around, y'all.
Yeah, we're messing around. No, we want to welcome back our guest is Seth Kirkman. How you doing today, Seth?
Good.
Good. And our second time was back with me and Meat and Trent. I know you and Teejay Leeson haven't come on yet, so here we go. Teejay Leeson, welcome back, bud.
Thanks for having me back on. Doing pretty good today.
It was good. It's good to be able to talk about movies with you, TJ.
Yep, first time.
Oh man, yeah, we've been missing out on you, buddy. So
So think like today we wanted to kind of think back to the previous year, like some of the movies that we saw that stood out to us as some of our favorites, maybe some of our least favorites, some that, you know, we just kind of saw, and we were going through the list earlier, and there were some that I just completely forgot about because, I mean, honestly, they weren't really that they were fairly forgettable, and but there were some that like we just haven't been able to stop talking about. Some of our previous viewers will know. But yeah, why don't we just go into it? Let's start with you, Jesse. What are some of your standout movies of 2022?
you mean like my favorite or the worst?
Yeah,
movies?
let's go with favorites now. I think we'll
Okay.
have like more to talk about.
Okay. I'm gonna go with the bottom to the top.
Okay.
Number 5. I got number 5. Okay, I'm gonna mention Avatar. It was a good movie, but it wasn't as good as the first one. Still, not Avatar. I just didn't see how it was just as good as the first one. Because honestly, some parts did drag a little bit. I mean, the visuals were just amazing. But again, you're like, come on, how much time we got? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys see the first or the second Avatar? Because I never got around to it.
I
remember
did.
Yeah, I saw it
actually,
with Jesse.
yeah. Me and TJ, we actually went to go watch it. So yeah. TJ, about Avatar. What do you think about it?
So for one thing, like it's been a few years since I've seen the first one. So it's like I like the second one, but I'm not sure how I like it compared to the first one. But I enjoyed the second one a decent amount.
Yeah.
I liked
I'm
the
not-
CGI and the story was pretty good.
But didn't they bring back the same villain from the first movie? Even
Yeah,
though
they
they killed
did.
him off too.
Yep.
Yes.
You think like
Oh.
in this alien world with different planets and stuff, they could come up with some kind of a different villain, but
Right. It is weird. It's a
I
weird.
haven't seen it, so they may have brought him back. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I did hear about that, and I mean, honestly, I never saw the first Avatar when it came out. I saw it maybe like a couple of years ago. Like it wasn't whenever the second movie's trailer came out. It was more like a little bit before that. I think I had heard, you know, well, James Cameron, he's been planning on making like 4 Avatar sequels for a while now, kind of making them all like around the same time, kind of building it up, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think like one day I just finally sat down and said, hey, I mean, I've never seen Avatar. I want to see what the hype is all about. And I did like it. I thought it was a good movie. I don't think James Cameron's necessarily ever made like a bad movie, but I mean, it wasn't really like hyping me up for the second one, even though I didn't have to wait as long as other people, because I can imagine like watching it back in 2008. Is that when the first one came out?
2009.
2009. Yeah, I
2009.
can imagine like watching it all the way back then and waiting for a sequel would be like, you know, torture if you really enjoyed the first one. But yeah, I thought the first one was a decent movie. I could definitely see how like for the time it was like a technological achievement. And I thought the visuals in the second one's trailer looked really good. but it wasn't really one that I was like first one in line to see. You know what I mean?
I think one funny thing about if you think about Avatar, really, if you've ever seen like Dances with Wolves, it's
Mhm.
just Dances with Wolves, but
It's
like with blue cat people.
it's like
Right.
Dances with Wolves. It's like
Yeah,
Pocahontas. It's like
yeah.
I mean, it's just that
I
kind of
mean, they're the
story.
Native Americans. Yeah,
That's why
Right.
they had
it's
to
just
bring back
funny. Yeah,
the bad guy from the first one. You got to have the colonizer.
that's right. Well, even then, I mean, you could have another general or some different character, but I'm like, you really brought back the exact same guy. I'm like,
Oh yeah,
okay,
I mean like even for like Aliens, which James Cameron also directed, he didn't direct the first Alien. Like the second antagonist, he was kind of similar to well, he the whole like antagonist of the Alien franchise is basically the company that's always trying to bring back these aliens even though it
wasn't
always
like the
results in death.
android. It wasn't like the
Yeah, it was
android
like an
like
android in the
looking.
first one. And the second one, it was actually like the businessman, like, the boardroom guy. But I mean, I think he stood out because like he kind of represented the same idea, but he had his own character, if that makes sense. So I think they
Right.
probably could have done that for the second Avatar. Now, that being said, I haven't seen it, so I don't know how it was handled, but I'm just kind of talking
I
here.
mean, I can't. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's my. I mean, like I said, it wasn't as good as the first one. It still was enjoyable. It just wasn't as good as the first one. And that's my final thoughts on Avatar: The Way of Water. Um, but the list, I'm gonna try to keep it short as possible. For my list, because I got a lot to say about some of these. I'm gonna go with number five. I'm gonna go with Glass Onion, the newest Knives Out movie on Netflix with Daniel Craig coming back. Yeah. Have you guys seen it yet or no?
No, not
I've
yet.
seen like
I
five
haven't. I've been
minutes.
meaning to.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the
What?
first one.
Yeah, the first. I personally like the first one more. I do the Glass Onion, but the Glass Onion was still enjoyable. Like the first half, you're like kind of get interesting. Says then the second half, you're getting into the details. I
Hmm.
mean, I can't really say much about Glass Onion if you haven't seen it. So, but I mean, Glass Onion, it definitely was a good movie. It just wasn't as good as the first one, but it's still good, and I'm looking forward to. I heard that they're supposed to be making a Knives Out 3, and I'm looking forward to Daniel Craig's new franchise. So
I'm looking forward to a new strange title. So, and a
there
new
you go.
great cast. These movies, like, there's only been two of them, but they always have great casts. I really enjoyed the cast of
Yeah.
the first one,
Yeah,
and the second one. Yeah, there were some standout people I saw in like promotional images, like Edward Norton. I've always liked him,
yeah.
um, and
Kate Hudson, she's in it.
Kate Hudson.
Yeah, Kate
Oh,
Hudson's in
okay,
it.
yeah, that's cool. I haven't seen
And
her in
Oh,
a
I
while,
gotta
so
watch it now.
and I
See, I
know
gotta watch it now.
but Batista's in it for just a little bit. So. But yeah, it like I said, great cast. I mean, like I said, it wasn't as good as the first one, but I still really enjoyed it. So, um, number four, I'm gonna go with Ambulance. It's a newest movie directed by Michael Bay. I watched it just recently. It blew me away. I really like Ambulance. I'm not sure you guys seen it yet, but Ambulance is definitely thrill writing, I guess you can say, because you're like, come on, what's gonna happen next? Because we're in an ambulance truck now. What's going on?
I thought it was called Ambu LA.
It's set in Los Angeles, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they saw like for the title they like emphasized the LA. So kind of like Fant Four Stick, if you heard people call it that, like
Oh
call it
yeah.
Ambu LA,
Or
Ah,
but
or
that might
like
take a while. So
Scream. Like, the title of the movie of Scream 4. It's called because there's a 4 cover in the E, I believe. So that's all people kept calling it Scream Forum.
oh yeah, or
Well,
like
wouldn't like seven, if you're ever gonna watch seven, wouldn't it be like set and then seven and then in?
yep.
says
Right.
seven
Right.
in.
So
That's how
seven
the
and
seven
Says
then
movie
seven.
is, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Have you boys seen it yet or no?
Ambulance.
Yeah.
I
Nah.
just saw it. No, I didn't watch it. I saw Michael Bay's name on it and just immediately assumed it was gonna be terrible.
No, it was actually pretty good in my opinion. I really
see,
liked it.
again, that wasn't a movie that I was immediately going out to see, but like even with like Michael Bay attached to it, I thought it looked decent because like my problem with like the Michael Bay movies is usually like the overabundance of CGI, but in this
Yeah.
one it seemed like it was all real stunts and like I don't mind his style so much. It's just like whenever they get really excessive, but this one just seemed like a more
Transformers.
grounded kind of thing. So I thought
Yeah.
it I thought it could have been interesting. Still never got around to seeing it, but
I mean, when y'all get a chance, definitely watch Ambulance. I mean, to me, it's pretty good. So, TJ, have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Ooh, that's why I said I can't really talk about much. I mean, so
Like I remember seeing like trailers on it, but I never saw the movie.
the movie is pretty good. I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal. I mean, he did good. And the actress who's Ambulance, I seen her before, but I mean, I think if she makes more movies, I think she will become big. I think if her name is Asa Gonzalez. I think how you say your name.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember her. She was in a Bloodshot with Vin Diesel that came out in 2020. So
Just as long as she doesn't make fun of Michael Bay and get blacklisted forever like Megan Fox, she'll be fine.
Wants to come
right.
back for like a.
Yeah.
Well, did she come back for like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something? Didn't
Oh
she?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
she did. I just watched those like last year. I actually personally really like the newer Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
They were
movies.
all right.
Yeah,
They
I
I
mean,
could have
I
been
never
a
saw
lot
the
worse,
second
but
one, but I saw the first one. I like the first one. Of course, whenever that one came out, I wasn't really familiar with the Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think I watched the cartoon a little bit whenever I was a kid, but I wasn't ever like a big fan. So I kind of like
yeah,
started getting into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I wouldn't be lost. And then I watched
yeah,
the Michael Bay one, and I thought it was all right.
yeah. I mean, I haven't I haven't seen any of the cartoon of the TMNT stuff, but I mean, I never was a Turtles fan, but I saw those two. It was pretty good. So I mean,
Apparently the
the first one more than the second one. So
apparently the old movies, or at least the first one, I don't know if it came out in like the 80s or 90s. You know, the one where they're like animatronic suits. Apparently those ones are pretty underrated. So
oh really?
yeah, I haven't
I'd
seen
say
them,
at
but
least they aren't terrifying to look at. The new
oh yeah,
turtles are
true.
like they're just absolute monstrosities. So, I mean,
Right.
they're probably more realistic, but I don't know if I want to see that.
Yeah. Right. Right. um. But yeah, but that's my final thoughts on Ambulance. Definitely check it out if you guys haven't seen it.
Wee woo, wee
Oh,
woo.
I forgot to just do my rating. Avatar: The Way of Water is an 8. Glass Onion 8. Ambulance is definitely an 8. So, all right. Uh, number 3. We just watched it. I just watched it recently. It's called Babylon with Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie. That one, I was pretty surprised by watching it. Yeah, it was definitely was enjoyable. I really liked it. Have you guys seen it yet?
Is that the one with Tobey Maguire? Or is that a different one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he does
it.
show up in it. I have seen Babylon actually. You finally got to the one weird movie that I have seen. So yeah, Babylon. I actually watched it recently, and I really enjoyed it. It was another movie that I was meaning to see, and I did eventually see it. And I didn't know this going into it, but it was written and directed by Damien Chazelle, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with that name, but he did Whiplash. He did First Man, the movie about Neil Armstrong going to the moon, and he also did La La Land, which you guys have probably heard of or have seen. So
I
yeah,
haven't seen it.
he is
I
a
have seen it. Yeah.
I think he's like a pretty good up and well, he's not even up and coming at this point, but he's a director who is like I think consistently has made good movies. So I was really excited hearing that before I went and saw Babylon because I seeing it from the trailer and everything, I was pretty excited about it anyway. So that kind of like cemented it for me, like oh, I might enjoy this movie, and I did. But Jesse, I'll let you go into your thoughts before I share mine.
Um, on Babylon, while I was watching it, because I know it was about actress and actresses filming when it comes to all this drinking and partying and all that.
Hmm.
And Trent, I know you love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I was like, that all kind of reminded me a lot from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, just a little bit. I'm not saying a lot, but just a little bit. So I was getting vibes from it.
Yeah, it was kind of
Uh,
like well, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, what that did for the '60s, Babylon did for like
the
like
20s.
the 20s and 30s, and like the Fatty Arbuckle days, like the early like pre-sound cinema. Um, and I don't know, have any of you guys seen Singing in the Rain by chance?
Yeah.
Old musical. It
I,
was
I I know what it is, but no, I haven't seen it.
what I thought was funny, like watching Babylon. I was like, oh, this is kind of like Singing in the Rain. It's kind of the story of like up and coming Hollywood. Because in Singing in the Rain, it's all about like silent actors transitioning to sound movies, and that does happen in Babylon. And I was like, oh, this is kind of like Singing in the Rain, except it's more depraved, it's more disgusting,
Yeah.
it's more extreme, and then the movie actually does make references to Singing in the Rain. It's like, oh, okay, so that was probably all intentional, but it's
Oh,
it's
okay.
for it's for like a modern audience, I guess,
Right.
if you want to call it that.
Was Babylon
Yeah.
a musical or was that like just a
So it
drama.
wasn't a musical, but like Damien Chazelle, music is a big part of his directing style. So he has a lot of like long sequences, and what I really enjoyed about the movie was like the camera movements and just like how the whole thing looked and like how like tight and quick it all was. So the soundtrack is actually really good, but it's not they don't sing, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. But it's a
Right.
very like it's a lot of sequences really, like a lot of big
Um,
parties, and like you see like every angle, what every character is doing. On that note, it kind of reminded me of Boogie Nights too, if you guys have seen that with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, I've
So
seen that.
it is kind of like it's similar to Boogie Nights. It's a story of like all these people like rising in an industry and then like the downfall of it eventually. So yeah.
um, I mean, like I know you two haven't seen it. I know me and Trent we both just seen it. I don't want to talk about much. I mean, because I don't want. If you guys haven't seen Babylon, definitely check it out. I know it's 3 hours long.
Oh,
So definitely find the right
This
time.
year had a lot of long movies. Now that I think about it, it's like Batman was 3 hours long. Avatar was like 3 hours long. That movie
Yeah.
was 3 hours long.
Yeah,
I'm
like
sure there were some
Babylon,
others.
when the title shows up, you know, when it finally says Babylon, it's like 30 minutes in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my final thoughts for Babylon. Trent, you got any final thoughts for that?
Basically what I will say, kind of how I was talking about how it did remind me a lot of other movies. I liked like the visual style of the movie, but the story in some ways, since I have seen other movies that were similar to it and it didn't really kind of deviate from that, it was a little predictable. But I guess that just kind of depends on like if you've seen a movie like this or you're like familiar with these types of stories. Yeah, but for me, like the main standout was the performances and the directing style. There's a lot of really interesting techniques used with like camera movements and like the editing, the way the music and like all that kind of stuff just kind of it's a really impressive really when you think of like all these like people and all these costumes moving around, they're all doing their own thing. If you look like at any extras in the background, they're not just kind of like standing around, like looking for something to do. No, like they're all like focused, you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
But yeah, that's basically all I'll say.
Uh, Number two on my list. I'm not sure if you guys seen it, but it's on Amazon Prime right now. It's called Samaritan with Sylvester Stallone. It's his newest action movie that just came out. Uh, you know, the age of 76 of Sylvester Stallone now. I will say he still got it. And what I mean by that is that since he's older now, he don't want to act like I don't know how you say it. Like, say he's older now, he basically just wants to act like he's old, and that's what Samaritan kind of
Right.
did.
He's not trying to be like a young man doing
Right,
like an Irishman type thing.
right, and the movie, no, it's not realistic because it's basically about like an unrealistic hero basically, and about this little boy trying to search for this guy named Samaritan, and of course that's when Sylvester Stallone comes in, and then of course Samaritan has to fight the world again, that sort of thing.
Does he say it's Samaritan time?
No, he doesn't.
That's very unfortunate.
Oh man, it could have been a
Why
10
are
out
we
of 10
talking
if you
about
just said that.
Morbius? I mean, this whole video should be about Morbius. That's the best movie of the year.
That'll be the next video. We'll spend an hour just
That's right.
talking about Morbius because we can't
There you
just
go.
lump that in with all this other trash.
Yeah, there
That's
you
right.
go.
It deserves a category of itself.
Mhm.
Right. And but
And
yeah,
I still haven't
Samaritan.
seen it, so
Yeah. And Samaritan, if you guys haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. I mean, oh, am I right on Samaritan? 9 out of 10. That's what I give it.
really.
okay.
Battle on 8. I give it 8 on Battle on. Now, my top movie of 2022. You got all three of you. Take a guess. What is it?
Top
Drum roll.
Top
Gun.
Gun.
Top Gun Maverick.
Yep, there it is. Top Gun Maverick. Like I said in the Top Gun discussion and spoiler review, I thought it was a great 30 plus years movie because usually 30 plus years movies are not as good as some others, and I think Top Gun Maverick did. It definitely is the one, and it was just a great story and a great script, and I seen it. I think I can watch it again over and over again. Of course, not every week, of course, but just
You sure?
nice. I haven't
But
seen
yeah.
it in a while.
It's like
Top Gun
every
Maverick.
other week, Trent. Come on.
Yeah. That the 1 week is Morbius, 1 week is Top Gun.
There you go.
That's right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I thought I really liked Top Gun. For like a movie like that, which I wasn't really. I mean, I wasn't expecting to hate it or anything, but I wasn't really expecting to like it as much as I did. And that's always my favorite type of movie to see. It was very tight. There was no filler. It was all about the characters, and I really enjoyed the characters. It was all about the action, which was all done for real. Jesse, didn't you
Most of
say it was
it.
like
Yeah.
90%? Like
I think
real or
the real was 90% of the movie.
yeah. So
And
that's really impressive.
yeah,
And
and Tom Cruise, I mean, he does his own stunts, and I can't believe because I was watching the special feature of the movie. They said that they thought it was impossible. Whenever he said impossible, when he heard the word impossible, he proved it,
mhm.
and I thought that was pretty amazing. So, I mean, I could pretty much talk
I
about
guess they're gonna tell him it's like impossible to survive like a fall off cliff, and he's just gonna jump straight off and prove him
right,
otherwise.
right. Um, uh, TJ, I'm gonna go with you. I know I seen Top Gun the second time with you. You want to talk about Top Gun for a little bit?
Yeah, so it's kind of like Avatar. Like the first Top Gun, I haven't really seen that one in a long time. So going into it, I all I remember was like how good the reviews were for the movie and how much people liked it. So going into it, I had, I guess you could say, medium expectations. But then once I went in and saw it, I was just blown away because the first thing I noticed to me was like the CGI and like the whole thing with the pilot jets and all that. It just seemed so much more immersive than I'm used to. And the
Yeah,
story was pretty good, the acting was pretty good, and I guess I wasn't expecting it to be so good because, like I said, I'm not used to Top Gun. So going into it, I was, oh, okay, this is much better than I thought, especially being in the theater, seeing it. And I was
yeah,
like, wow, okay, this works for me. And so,
Yeah,
yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I know what you mean. Like I didn't grow up watching Top Gun or anything. I literally watched it the night before we went and saw it in theaters. We went and saw Maverick in theaters. So like even then, not being like 30 years invested into the characters or anything, I still, I got it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
yeah,
I didn't have to play catch up. And even then it wasn't really all about that. Basically what you had was Maverick and Goose's son. And that was the main dynamic of the movie. And I think that they handled that really well. And it was really satisfying watching them like come together in the end.
yeah.
Yeah.
Seth, what about you?
I like I said, I haven't seen nearly as many movies as you guys have this year, but I'll probably go with four that I, or maybe five. I'll go with five that I really remember
Yeah,
liking. Probably my five spot is this movie called Beast. So it's got a Idris Elba in it, and like he he uh he protects his family from like this lion, and it's exactly what you'd expect getting from this movie. So it's not very complicated. It's not you're not gonna have to think real hard about it, but it's a fairly entertaining movie the whole way through. It's very tense and suspenseful, and he punches a lion in the face. So that's at least a I'd probably say like a 7 out of 10 right there. So
Oh,
yeah, it was just
oh,
a go ahead.
I haven't seen Beast because I saw the trailer for it. I actually didn't want to watch it, so
And Noah, I never really heard anyone that watched it, or I never really heard much of anything about it, but I enjoyed
Yeah.
it when I went to watch it. Like,
Yeah, I didn't
go
like
ahead.
hear about it like bombing or anything. I think it just kind of like came and went kind of thing. But
Yeah,
whenever I saw the trailer for it, I thought, that might be one that I'd want to check out. It's kind of like you kind of know what it is going into it. Like, let me know if I'm wrong, but it was just kind of like Idris Elba, fighting lions. Are they lions or
basically.
tigers?
It's one lion, so like it starts off as lion family gets poached or something, and he hates all
right,
humans, so he's killing
right,
everyone, and Idris Elba has to defend his family. Like I said, you've seen this movie 100 times over, but
Right.
yeah.
it kept you entertained. It was adequate for that, so I enjoyed it. So my fourth favorite movie, would probably be The Northman, which I've said this before. That is not usually the type of movie I'm used to seeing. Like I might go out and watch a historical action movie or something. I watch plenty of those, but like The Northman is just kind of different from all of those. It throws in a lot of the mythology in there, so you don't know if it's all in his head or if it's actually happening or what's going on, but it's just a very interesting way of looking at it. And I guess you see how people, Vikings back then, really would have. That's how they viewed the world. It's what they believed. But yeah, it had a lot of good action sequences, good story, good characters. So there's Robert Eggers, isn't it, Trent? I know
Yeah, the guy who directed The Witch and The Lighthouse, and
yeah,
I don't know like what he's working on now. I don't know if there's like any news out, but yeah, he's another guy who I think has consistently made good movies. That was a reason why I was interested in seeing it. I'm kind of like you, Seth. I probably wouldn't see like a Viking movie, but seeing like his name attached to it, I was pretty. That was one that I did go see, and I'll kind of go into that whenever I get onto my list. But yeah.
yeah.
The one thing I'll say, I remember Trent and Seth, you two went to go watch it. I know I didn't. I mean, I know the other day you guys want me to join y'all by cones. uh,
Yeah,
TJ, have you seen The Northman?
No, I have not.
Okay.
you should give it a watch.
Yeah. At least that was at least worth watching. The one thing I'll say about The Northman, because I kind of like going back to older times. When it comes to like the religion or whatever. Just
Yeah.
just that
It's
sort
a
of
very
thing.
brutal, like
Oh yeah,
unapologetic movie.
Right.
yeah.
And
You
and
don't watch it if you don't got a thick stomach,
there you go.
strong stomach.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I only seen it just the one time. One I might have to get a rewatch. But no, I remember watching it. I watched it when I finally got a chance to, and I was like, I liked it. I mean, but I kind of agree with what you boys say.
And I think
And
that's probably like one of those movies. If you watch it a second time, you'd probably enjoy it more because I really didn't. I've never watched any other Robert Eggers movies. I didn't know what he was like. I didn't. I was expecting more of a straightforward Viking movie, and then you get like all this kind of weird stuff going on. So,
hmm
but I think if you go into it a second time expecting that stuff, you're probably going to catch on to a lot more. Unless you could watch it with subtitles. I remember when we watched it in theater, I could not understand half of the words they were saying.
Oh yeah, that's a big Robert Eggers
yeah,
thing. Like no disrespect to him at all. Like I mean this in the best possible way. He is like a history like nerd.
Yeah,
Like all of his movies, whether it's The Witch with like colonial times or like The Lighthouse with that kind of like Mr. Krabs sailor kind of dialect,
yeah,
like they
right.
don't make it easy for you to understand. He wants it to be as accurate as possible. Like if we were actually like shooting these people in the day and age that they lived in. So I think that
right.
that's something really interesting. But I would say, yeah, definitely watch it with subtitles, and also like
I know I
just
did.
some things you kind of got to understand what they're saying, but also like if you watch the movie, you can understand like what their motivations
I mean,
are
you
and that
get the
kind of thing.
overall. Yeah, you get the overall gist. And like a lot of the character names are using like the legitimate, whatever a Norse name would have been. It's like
Right.
Yeah,
you can't even remember who half of them are. But
yeah, the names
Right.
are kind of like hard to
yeah,
keep up with. But I would just say like, yeah, just remember like that guy's face. Like don't worry about like
hmm
remembering all the names.
Go ahead.
the
Go
way
ahead.
I watch movies now, you can be watching a normal American movie and they're speaking normal American accent and stuff, and I'll still
hmm
have to turn on subtitles because you miss so much stuff if you're just. I noticed that is when I have subtitles on, you catch so much more stuff that you
Oh
don't
yeah.
catch beforehand. It
I'm,
is a little annoying when you constantly have all the words on the bottom, but I think it more
I
than makes up for it, the stuff you catch.
Seth, I'm actually the same way because if I go play a movie on my TV or any TV, I like to turn on subtitles because you kind of like you what are they saying like half the time
Yeah.
because certain people I cannot understand. So I'm about like you. I really
I'll
am.
say there's this movie, True Grit. I love that movie.
hmm That's a good
And
one.
I've watched it a ton of times, and I watched it finally with subtitles. I'm like, I never realized the insane amount of stuff I've missed because Jeff Bridges, right?
Yeah.
He mumbles through the whole thing, and it's just, oh my gosh! I'm like, I didn't realize I missed all this dialogue.
Or you have
So
Oh, Jeff
movies
Bridges.
like Tenet. Like if you saw a Tenet in theaters, it would be hard to
I did.
understand what they were saying because like the sound mixing in that movie, which I think it was intentional, but like it's you hear so much more of the music, you hear like the sound effects, you hear all that over the dialogue, which I mean, I guess if you want to make an immersive experience, fine, but also it's good to understand like what your characters are saying so you can follow the story. And also in a movie like that where they're explaining all these rules and all that, which I mean, I still like Tenet, but that was a big problem that a lot of people had with that movie.
Yeah, I'm about to say wait because I remember when theaters start opening back up. I know the local movie theater that I went to, were playing it, and I went to go watch it. And I'm about like you, I was kind of having a hard time what the characters were saying because I know you got the music and the sound effect. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a good movie. It was just I just don't think. I mean, Christopher Nolan, he's the director of Tenet, right?
Yeah.
I do like his direction. I just don't. We just think on that one. I just think the characters we need to hear more. But that's not a
Yeah,
problem.
and the funny thing is too, like Christopher Nolan, he's such like a cinema purist. Like he fought to have Tenet shown in theaters during 2020 when it was looking like no movies were going to theaters, and he was like so
That kind of
against it
hurt me,
going
though.
straight to streaming. And he still made it hard for people to hear it in a theater, which I feel like in a theater that would be like an easy like sound mixing opportunity to make sure you get the immersive experience, but also you're able to hear the dialogue. So,
Yeah.
but again, that might have just been like a COVID thing, and they might not have been able to edit it as much. I don't know. I didn't really have a big problem with like hearing people. It was more like just understanding the whole like time travel element of it. But I know
Right.
that was a big complaint that a lot of people had was they couldn't hear the dialogue above everything else. But I'm
Right.
rambling here, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and
That's
also
just go ahead.
I gotta ask you, Seth. Did you say when you were telling me when you and Trent went to go watch The Northman? Did you say something about a person accidentally like farted or something like that?
At the beginning of the movie, I think Trent had mentioned that his favorite part of the movie is
yep.
there was like the ceremony at the beginning where he's like the kid is becoming a man or something, but like, and they're like all farting and burping in this cave and stuff.
Hmm. That's what I
It's
liked about
funny.
it. Was it was like it was this serious like Viking drama, but at the same time it didn't take itself seriously because real life isn't always serious. Like he just I mean, it's a movie you can laugh at, but it's also a movie that, you know, you can really get engaged in the action, get engaged in like everything that's going on, but they didn't like try to make it very pretentious or anything like that. They just kind of like made it pure like Viking, and I think that's what a lot of people didn't like about it. Some people did think it was like pretentious or weird. Or I remember when me and Seth saw it,
Yeah, the woman.
there was it was like an
Yeah.
empty theater. It was me, you, and then like guy and his grandma. And the grandma, like whenever the lights came up and the movie was over, everything, I heard her say, "Well, that's not quite what I was expecting," and I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. It wasn't what
Um.
I was expecting either, in her defense, but
Right.
Yeah.
it was interesting. I was about to say
Yeah.
my favorite part, maybe not my favorite part. This is the one that always I remember for some reason. It's a stupid scene, has absolutely nothing to do with it. There's this Valkyrie at the end, like she's riding in her Pegasus horse, and she's got like these braces on. It
Hmm.
just seems so
Yeah.
out of place to me. I don't have a problem with it. It doesn't take away from anything. It's funny for some reason to me. I don't know. There's
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
Valkyrie. And,
it's just like it takes it to 11. Like it doesn't hold back
yeah,
any of the mythology or any of that
yeah.
stuff. It's just like
Right.
I mean, maybe they had
what's wrong with
fun.
the Valkyrie with braces? What's wrong with the farting ceremony? Come on, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if they had like a character with braces, like one of the normal Vikings, that would have thrown me off. But like this is a
Yeah.
supernatural Viking. I'm like, I really don't care.
Right.
But anyway, I'll leave off on that. I feel like I've gone on about the Northman for too long. But number three would probably be Batman, which
Okay.
I complain about superhero movies a lot. I feel like they've run their course by this point, but it was different, I
Yeah.
think, from pretty well everything else that they've been doing. I like that they focused more on the detective aspect of it.
Yeah.
Uh, they take like a lot of influences from like I would say like Seven and wasn't there like some other or like Saw maybe?
7, maybe like a bit of Zodiac in there.
Yeah, Zodiac. I was
Yeah,
gonna say
because
'cause
it
they're
like
like the
the whole
Riddler
like
guy.
Riddler character was kind of
Yeah,
based off the Zodiac killer and all that. So
Yeah.
I just like how they've been doing that with Batman for a while, where they take him down like the more realistic, serious route. Like if he actually existed, this is what he would be like. But I like that.
mhm.
Yeah.
Using the Riddler, he was an interesting character. It had some decent action sequences in it too.
Yeah.
It's different from most of the other superhero movies I've seen in a while, and I enjoyed how they kept it different. They made it more realistic,
Yeah,
more
like
serious.
to me, like Batman is so much better when he's just kind of like wandering around, like just kind of being Batman rather than just being this like, superhero who's always, just like beating up the first guy that he sees and all that kind of
Yeah,
thing. And you do get that in the Batman, but it's so brutal and like visceral and real.
yeah.
It's like
I would
it's
almost
actually
like I would kind of describe it almost like a noir movie, wouldn't you?
yeah, like
Where,
it's a very like the city is very like
Mhm.
like it surrounds you and like there's no escape. He's just kind of like walking through these corridors and it's always raining and it doesn't look like a green
Yeah.
screen for one, like
yeah, I've heard
Justice
everyone
League
like
or
this.
like I
I've heard
remember
everyone. Yeah,
like in the Joss Whedon version of Justice League, like you see Batman like being Batman, like he's just like tying up a goon and he's on the rooftop and it looks like such a set. Like it looks like they're
right.
just on some sound stage and there's a green screen in the background and something they uh, like made up in like 40 minutes. It looks like one of those like Arrowverse shows like The Flash or something like that. It just looks so fake
Oh
and
yeah,
like the
Right.
Batman, like the Christopher Nolan movies were realistic, like really realistic, and I think the Batman kind of had that like nice balance between comic booky but
yeah.
also like making
Yeah.
it feel like it's in a real world. So yeah, that's what I
Well,
enjoyed about it.
I've heard I've heard everyone describe Gotham as like a character in this movie, and I think
Right.
that actually like really well describes it. It's got a feel to it. It just doesn't. It feels like what you would think Gotham would be like if it were real, but
Very
also
like
maintained.
dark and grungy
yeah.
and
Well,
Yeah,
it's just, and that's how I felt about the Batman. Like when I first watched it, I was like, geez, why did they make this movie like darker? Because I grew up with the Dark Knight movies, the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight movies, and I think those movies are really really well done movies.
oh yeah.
I think because I grew up with because my favorite Batman. I think I'm gonna go with Bale still. Because honestly, because I actually
yeah.
last year during Christmas time, I actually rewatched all the Dark Knight movies because I know I hadn't seen them in a very long time. And I remember, 'cause I'm Trent, I'm about like you, because I remember you told me every time when you think about the Dark Knight was the second movie, you're like, it's not as good as I remember. Then when you watched it, you're like, yep, it's definitely good.
Oh yeah, like the
I was actually the same way when I watched it. I was like, yep, especially as good as I remember. So
yeah, I think the Nolan trilogy still reigns supreme. But I think it's a little too early to tell for Matt Reeves. But the second one is slated for like 2025, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. But yeah, I think only time will tell like who my favorite Batman will be. Pattinson is definitely in the running, but it's just kind of early, so I would have to go with Bale.
yeah, I mean, I guess, I know we complain about the Batman people, but I never really grew up with the older characters of Batman. I guess
And it's
Keaton.
not really much of a competition when Bale's basically the only good one, and then you've got like Clooney and Kilmer, and they're
Hmm.
Yeah,
And a,
like
and
a
a lot of
5-year-old could
people
be better than that.
say like Michael Keaton is their favorite, and like I like the Michael Keaton Batman movies, but I never really like I don't know, like him as a character in those movies doesn't really stand out to me the way Christian Bale's does. For me, like the
yeah,
Tim Burton movies are a lot more about like they're a lot more about the villains and they're about more like the Tim Burton kind of like atmosphere and that kind of thing. I
Yeah,
don't really see like Michael Keaton as like a main character in those movies, strange enough. But
yeah,
yeah, that's just me.
yeah. And me personally,
yeah, I
I
know what
like
you mean.
and personally, I like Ben Affleck's Batman. Like I said, I think Bale will be at the top of that, and Ben Affleck will be the second. But it's not really about my competition today. So let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, we can
Uh,
definitely go on forever about like who the best Batman is, but
Yeah. We
TJ,
can
did you
make
see
like a
the
second Batman video.
TJ, did you see Batman or the
yeah, I did.
Batman?
Yep.
What'd you think of it?
Yeah, I thought the same way as you. I thought it was pretty good. I'm not sure how I would rank it amongst the Batman movies
Hmm.
though, or like portrayals, but like going into it, I was a little worried about how Robert Pattinson would portray Bruce Wayne and Batman, but going out of it, I was like, okay, that was pretty good. I see what they're doing with it, and so I'm looking forward to what else to have in store.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and I really liked him as Batman too. Like I wasn't as I know a lot of people were skeptical, but I never really saw him in Twilight. I saw him in other things like and
Yeah.
he's in like my third favorite movie, which is Good Time, and I thought he was great in that. I think he's good in like basically like what he's tasked to do. He always does it well. Like even in Twilight, he was supposed to be this kind of like heartthrob kind of weirdo vampire, and I mean he pulled it off. So
Yeah.
just watch him in interviews. He does not care about those movies at all, but he did the
Oh, no,
job.
you
So
don't.
Just craps
he got
all over.
paid.
Oh,
But
man.
Seth, was there anything else on your list or?
I think you
Yeah,
got two
I
more.
almost forgot. It is two more. I'll add a third, and I'll go over through this really quick because I kind of forgot about it. I really liked Violent Night,
Mm.
which it's
I
just
still haven't seen it.
it's a funny
Don't tell me
action
much.
movie.
Do not tell me
Yeah,
much.
I won't. Just go ahead and give it a watch when you get a chance. But it's really enjoyable. It's kind of lose yourself in it for a couple hours. Lots of Die Hard and Home Alone references. David Harbour's fantastic as Santa Claus. So
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I like
But-
him.
yeah, I'll just leave it there though because that'll probably go on for too long. My number two movie, which I really like, Top Gun Maverick. I'm gonna have to give it my two spot. It was a fantastic movie. Don't get me wrong. I think it's slightly overrated.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'll
Damn,
probably give
Jesse, turn off your audio.
this is about to like
Rip
go
out your
full
mic.
on war mode. Yeah, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. It was a
Seth-
good movie.
Oh, go ahead.
It was a good movie. Uh, it was better than most of the stuff they put out now. I just think maybe it's slightly overrated. Uh, I guess the one thing I really liked about it, I'll give it this, is that it feels more like it's like a classic good time movie. I feel like they don't make many of those anymore. Just not like they used to, I guess. Everything almost feels a little preachy, I guess
Mhm.
now. But that was not a preachy movie. It was just to go in, have a good time, and I respect him for that. Tom Cruise has been making a lot of those, and I think that's one of the best things about him. Why he's probably one of the best actors in Hollywood right now.
Yeah, it was one of those movies that was like easy to watch again and again. So I couldn't. I mean, I
Yeah.
enjoyed like Babylon, but I couldn't watch that movie over and over.
Right.
It's just too nasty.
Yeah.
The only let's say the only thing about Top Gun, I think it relied a little too heavily on nostalgia. If you had never seen the original Top Gun, I don't think this movie would have been nearly as popular as it was. I still think it would have done really well, but I don't think it would be like this was just this huge cultural thing when it came out. I don't think it would have been as big as it was if it hadn't been based off something previously. But yeah, like you said, the no CGI, it was all real. The characters, the acting, it was all really good. So I may say it's overrated, but it was really good. I just think it's slightly more praise than it maybe deserves.
Right.
But
I know Seth. I know me, you, we're kind of on the same page. I know Trent and TJ, you two, not so much when it comes to Tom Cruise movies. And Seth, you are right. He is definitely one of the best actors in Hollywood right now. Because I mean, ever since he started doing action movies, I mean, you can tell he wants to do the movies, you know. And
I say like even the Mission Impossible movies. I know they've got this one coming out. What is it?
Dead
Mission
Reckoning?
Impossible,
Not
Dead
Fallout.
Reckoning,
Part
Part
Yeah,
One.
Dead Reckoning. I'm excited for that.
I am too.
Especially because he does like a lot of stunts for real and stuff. He's like one of those few guys that you feel like he legitimately just cares. He wants to do the absolute best he can.
Yeah, he's
And-
definitely like entertaining and he has the charisma. And I think like in terms of acting, he's not my favorite. I'm more go for like person like becoming a character kind of thing. And like nothing against like Tom Cruise or like Keanu Reeves or any of these guys, but what they do very well, and it's always like fun watching them. It's just like
It's the
it's
same
not
type,
like what
though,
I would
kinda.
consider to be like good acting, but that's just
Yeah.
me. I think like without them in those movies, it wouldn't even be the same, you know.
I
Yeah.
I think the thing is with me, I see two different Tom Cruise, and what I mean by that, like people say he's a lot different when he's on set of a movie, and you know he's a completely different guy when it comes to Scientology. He's a completely different guy. But of course, I haven't studied the Scientology thing. I don't care to study about the Scientology thing,
He's a
but I'm
completely
not.
different sheep.
Yeah, and but and I think Tom Cruise, I think he's very underrated. And Top Gun Maverick, when I saw the second, because I've seen both of the Jack Reacher movies. Of course, I like the first one more than I do the second one. But I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know about Top Gun. I mean, the reason why I was wanting to watch it because I was wanting to see the jets on the big screen. But whenever I saw it, I was like, I hate to admit it, it's definitely better than the original. I hate to admit it, but it is. Uh,
Yeah, the original is very 80s, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And
I still enjoy
it's
Top
kind of
Gun, the
got.
original.
Oh yeah, yeah. So the only
It's-
Top Gun 2 would have been a 10 out of 10, but I didn't have Take My Breath Away, and I don't know how you can possibly recommend
Ouch.
that. So
Oh,
yeah,
I think I forgot to rate Top Gun Maverick. And Trent, I remember I said on the podcast, I said 9 out of 10.
you're gonna give it 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Yeah,
Just say
yeah,
it.
I have to. It's 10 out of 10.
Why
It
not?
has.
Uh,
It has to be ten
Seth,
out of 10. I'm sorry.
I wanted to say, like, I think it's funny that two of your favorite movies of 2022 are the Batman and Top Gun Maverick, and you have a poster of the Batman, you have a poster of
Oh yeah,
planes
you do, don't you?
behind you.
yeah. Oh well, that makes sense. Yeah.
You need a
Uh,
Valkyrie and you need a Santa.
yeah.
I've been playing God of War, and there's plenty of Valkyries in that.
All
So
right.
Yeah.
yeah, Santa Claus. I don't know what I have for that. So
Yeah. I feel like I
uh,
ran.
shall I go on to my number one?
Yep. Let's hear it.
Yep. Let's hear it. What is it?
Didn't even come out in theaters. Yeah, All Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh
And I know we
really?
had just talked about war movies in our last video, and I completely forgot to mention that one. But
Mhm.
now let me say this: this is not one of those movies I would want to watch all the time. I would rather watch Top Gun repeatedly than I would rather watch All Quiet on the Western Front. But it is raw.
Hmm.
I mean, it's tough to watch, but it's got like some awesome action sequences. It makes you really see how pointless war is. I mean, I think all war movies try to do that, but like this one just really hits it home. Like they're all dying for absolutely nothing. It's a completely pointless war. And
Yeah.
like I said, I'm a big history buff, so I love that stuff too. Uh,
There's
but
a
yeah, I mean, if you
Go ahead.
no, you can go ahead. I don't
I
really
was
know
just
what I was
gonna
gonna say.
say, like, there's this old war movie called Come and See, and it's supposed to be like one of the hardest like war movies to watch. Like it's not midway, it's not fun. It's like it's very like sad. It kind of shows that side of it. Like war is pointless. It all it does is just make it hell for the people who are in it, kind of thing. And so I can kind of see like All Quiet on the Western Front is probably like taking that kind of angle. So whenever you said that, it just reminded me of Come and See. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the way they portray all the characters, they're just kids, and I mean they make the point out of it, and like they die in some awful ways. Like
mhm.
even the main character, like if you've read the book or if you've seen some of the previous movies, in those versions he dies. No one makes it out alive, and I won't spoil what happens in this one, but like the whole way you're just like, oh, just please make it. And
Mhm.
it's like,
Right.
I won't say what happens, but
Right. It's kind of like how I
it's
felt
great.
about
It's a go ahead.
whenever you said "please make it, please make it." That's how I felt about Top Gun. When I was watching it the first time
Yeah.
in theaters, that's how I felt. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a good sign of a good movie. Rarely do I get like an attach. I won't say they're like you get super attached to the characters, but like rarely do you get attached to characters, or at least me, where you get attached to a character so much that you're like actively wanting them to survive through to the end. Like,
Yeah.
I guess when you get like, I'll say like with movies or video games or whatever, when you get like one of those moments where you're just like really wanting them to survive, you really wanting to make it through. I think it's just a sign of a good movie. But they've at least
Mhm.
written those characters well to the point where you actually care.
Yeah, like my
Uh,
favorite type of movie is one that like even though it's all fake, it's still able to move you emotionally. And I think there's something kind of like magical about that. Like to me, like movies are a magic trick. That's
yeah,
why The Prestige is my favorite movie because that's kind of like the whole philosophy of that movie is that movies are magic tricks. So like when you take something that's completely fake, but it makes you feel like real feelings for these characters or these situations, I think that's a sign of like a great movie. You have movies that are like entertaining. It's a way to kill, an
yeah,
hour and 20 minutes. But then there are those movies that just kind of like you, at the second it's over, you can't stop thinking about it. And you think about it the next day and you think about it the next day. And there's like movies like Requiem for a Dream, which is not a movie you want to watch like 2 days in a row. I remember the first time I watched it, I hated it, but then the entire rest of the week I couldn't stop thinking about it, and then I watched it again, and it became one of my favorite movies. So yeah, I'm definitely going to have to check out All Quiet on the Western Front. I've heard really good things about it. So yeah.
Just watch the German language version. Don't watch the dub.
Oh yeah.
It's painful watching the dub. I can't stand it.
We were
Oh,
just talking about subtitles. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
So I'll
right.
go ahead and
Yeah.
watch the German dub with English subtitles.
Um,
Yeah. No, or yeah. You said German dub. And I was like, what? But
Or yeah,
it's
well,
originally in German, so yeah.
German
Oh,
audio.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who's next?
TJ, you want to take this one?
Sure, I can do it. So I won't say mine in any particular order, but like the first one I wanted to get out of the way was Everything Ever All at Once. So that one, it was silly, but it was very heartwarming. It's more heartwarming than you expect it to be going into it because you start to pick up on the themes it's trying to express and like the way the actors are acting and the story it's trying to tell. Even though it's a silly movie, it's got a silly concept, it's how they, I guess, deliver it that makes it work very well for me. And so, like, by the end of it, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty emotional. And so I
Right.
really enjoyed that one. And it's pretty funny too.
Yeah, I've been meaning
yeah.
I've been meaning to see that one for so long. It's like at the top of my watch list. I just never get around to seeing it. So I'm definitely gonna
Yeah.
have to check that one out.
Mhm.
I
I
wish
haven't either.
I wish I would have seen it so I would have been able to talk about it for this podcast, but I mean it's one I definitely need to get around to. I've heard great things.
Yeah, I think you'll like it.
I haven't seen it either, so I need to go check it out. Oh,
I like the directors. I've seen Swiss Army Man, which they did before, and I absolutely adore that movie. I think it's great. So
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
So then next one will be Top Gun Maverick. So I kind of explained earlier, just I liked the CGI. I thought the story was pretty good. Like the acting. I also liked how they did the whole passing of the torch type of story. So it's like they didn't just completely try to throw away the old with the new. It just felt like it respected both the old and the new. And so I thought that made it to be a pretty good movie.
okay.
Um, and then what else? I guess I could say the Batman. The Batman was pretty good. It kind of what we said earlier. I liked how they portrayed Gotham. I thought it was a unique take on the villains like Penguin
Mhm.
and Riddler, especially
Yeah.
Riddler. That was a very interesting take of his character. We've never really seen anything like that before. And it was kind of weird how they did the whole live streaming thing about it, but I thought that was pretty clever. But yeah, overall, I thought that was a pretty good movie.
Huh?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So was that your top three, or was there anything else?
I think I'll say Avatar. I kind of
Okay.
mentioned that one too earlier, how I like the CGI and I thought the story was pretty good. I mean, and again, it's been a while since I've seen the first one, but I liked how they did the villain and what they're trying to do with him instead of it just being the same old, same old. So I thought that was a nice touch. Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Cool. So it looks like we had some like overlapping movies. So I'll kind of like go through these quick. The Northman was a movie I really enjoyed, and I'm kind of like TJ. These are in no particular order. I just really like how it didn't take itself seriously, and it was just a fun movie about Vikings, and it was also like your classic like
And
Lion
murder.
King Hamlet type story of like revenge and all that kind of thing. But I also like the twist about, well, I won't give away too much, but basically it doesn't take the same direction that like Hamlet and Lion King and that kind of story goes. But I think that it was very fitting for like the time period that it was set in. Nope. That was a movie that I really enjoyed. I thought it was incredibly creative. Nice twist on the whole like alien story. And there's so many details in that movie that you can go back and watch it and you'll notice like new things every time. I thought there was a lot of great, I really like the characters in Nope. I love the design of the over looming threat kind of thing. I really like the way they implemented different objects like the wacky wavy inflatable arm flailing tube men. I thought it was a really interesting setting And basically, that's like why I thought it was like a really creative movie. Did any of you guys see Nope?
I
Nah.
did on Christmas Day, yes. Nope. I thought it was a decent movie. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was decent.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's all.
I really go for those like really like creative movies that try to like utilize different.
Right.
I don't really know how to explain it, but like the iconography of it, I could definitely see how a movie like that would become iconic. Like just all the stuff that was in it. I guess it's not the best way of explaining it, but I thought it was like kind of like potentially iconic. I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Um, And then you have the Batman, which probably would be my favorite movie of 2022. Kind of like how we were saying, I really like the whole design of this new Gotham City. I love the design of the Batsuit, and I really love Robert Pattinson as Batman. He's one of my favorite actors, and I thought he kind of knocked it out of the park. He's like he's the type that like I would like to see as Batman. I don't really like this whole like hulking kind of like just kind of like I don't know. I like it more
Ben
when he's more
Affleck.
like a detective kind of, but he's also like able to defend himself, and he's still learning too. Like you see Batman like screw up. He's not this like perfect like gets it right every time Batman, which like the Nolan movies kind of like uh took a little too far in some areas, but that's always cool. I also really like how it looked like a real movie. Like you could tell like they were shooting on real locations, and the lighting was spectacular. I loved like how grungy everything looked, um, and
Yeah.
I really like Matt Reeves' direction. I wasn't really familiar with him. He has done things before, but nothing that I had really seen besides like Cloverfield.
Well,
But
if
I
you
mean,
ever
that
seen
was
like the
like
Planet,
yeah, he did like the Planet of the Apes movies, which I hadn't
yeah,
seen. I had seen
well, those are
Cloverfield,
really
but
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
Cloverfield
Uh,
is more like a found footage type thing, so it's different, I guess, and it's kind of hard for like the
Yeah,
director's vision to, or like I guess like the design of everything.
yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, there's a lot that I really love about the Batman, and I think that's why it's probably my favorite movie of 2022. It was definitely like my most anticipated movie too, so I'm glad that it didn't disappoint. You know, I loved every minute of it, every 3 hours of it. So
right.
I think like Babylon would be which it's a movie I saw more recently. But I think that would be an honorable mention on my list of like favorite movies. It was like near the end, like the very end of 2022, but
Yeah.
I didn't see a whole lot in theaters, and I think that Babylon was a pretty decent movie. I liked the beginning of it more than I did like the end of it.
Yeah.
But I think it was a really impressive, like a really impressively made movie. um, and I think Damien Chazelle is a great director, and I think that the cast was really good.
Yeah.
And I also think like a lot of the story beats in it were kind of familiar, a little cliche maybe, but a lot of the like characters, I guess, were a little more like creative and new. I really
Yeah.
it was weird seeing Tobey Maguire that way, which I won't spoil anything, but um, he definitely there's a lot of things in this movie that just come like straight out of left field.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy like a lot of the sequences in the beginning. Like there's a whole sequence where they're all shooting like out in the desert on various lots and everything, and like you know they got to get the camera, like the actors aren't cooperating and all that kind of stuff. And I think like with the scale that this movie took on, that like all the different like pieces and elements and characters and like all this kind of stuff, I thought it was really impressive, and it was very entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
um and so I will say like I really didn't enjoy the first part. The second part wasn't bad. It was just kind of dragged on a bit, and uh
Right.
yeah. So
Yeah.
Babylon, honorable mention there. Well, so that's basically all I had to say about my favorites. Now comes the fun part. Do we want to talk about maybe like a movie this year that we didn't like? Maybe if it even if it's not our least favorite, it's just one that we saw that like either like didn't live up to expectations, or who knows, maybe we totally hated it. So I'm interested
Right.
to hear what you guys had to say.
All right, I guess I can go first. Okay. This movie sticks out like a sore thumb. Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh, yeah.
Mm,
So going into the movie, I
Oh,
already
yeah.
heard about the reviews. I knew people were mixed about the movie, so I lowered my expectations. But then I watched the movie and I still was very disappointed with it. For one,
Yeah, like
I really loved Thor Ragnarok. Well, I thought it was pretty good. And so going into this one, I was like, okay, this is the first Marvel movie in MCU that has like the fourth sequel. And so I was hoping that maybe they could pull it off. But for me personally, it didn't do that. For one
I
thing, like the humor was just, it didn't work for
Right.
me. It had so much humor that didn't land. And so when I was watching it, I was kind of cringing a little bit in theater
hmm
and then noticing that no one else was laughing when they were supposed to. That happened so much that I was just like, oh God, okay, let this movie just end already. And
yeah,
so like CGI was good, the acting was okay, but the story was meh, and the humor was just the one thing I just couldn't stand.
Yeah.
yeah, there's
Well, it
nothing
kind of
worse than a
sounds like
bad
it.
comedy. Like I saw like reviews going into it before I went into it, comparing it to like Batman and Robin. I was like, oh, it can't be that bad. But like, I would say it's probably worse than Batman and Robin because I think Batman and Robin at least wasn't trying to be funny, so you can watch it and laugh at it. But Thor: Love and Thunder was trying so hard to be funny, like you said, it just came off as cringe. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll probably never watch like Thor: Love and Thunder again. But yeah, I'll watch Batman and Robin every couple of years or so, just just for laughs.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Seth, did you have one?
Yeah, well, I've been very picky with my viewing selections. I haven't actually been open enough to watch anything truly awful, but there were some stinkers on Netflix. I remember The Gray Man. I guess that was semi big when that came out for
hmm
Netflix standards, but I didn't like it. Now it seemed like because it's the Russo brothers, I think, that directed
Oh
that.
yeah.
Yeah, like I've seen some movies from them before that I actually thought like they did The Winter Soldier. I think that's the
Right.
best Marvel movie by far. That movie was awesome. They did Extraction, which that was a solid action movie with Chris Hemsworth in it.
They did
So
Civil
I was
War, which
actually,
I really like.
yeah. So like they've had a decent track record. So I was expecting fairly decent, but I felt like they just completely went all over the look. It's Ryan Gosling. It's
hmm
Chris
Yeah.
Evans. Look, you know these people. It doesn't matter if the story's good. It doesn't matter if the action's good. It's like there's some famous people, and then yeah, the action was just kind of meh. I think it would have been better if it had been like rated R and they could have gone all out with it, but instead they went for the PG-13 rating. It was all kind of watered down. Uh,
Yeah.
there's that, and like some of the CGI was astoundingly awful. Like they had a,
hmm
I don't know if you've seen it. There's a sequence with the plane where he's like getting sucked out of the plane, and like
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it looks like they threw a bunch of clothes in a blender and they're
hmm
recording that as they fall. It's like, what the heck is going on?
I can imagine with
Yeah,
a Netflix budget, yeah, they might have like
yeah.
bit off more than they can chew. It definitely wasn't
yeah,
like Infinity War or anything like that.
yeah.
Right.
And there may have been some other movies on Netflix that were just so bad I can't even remember what they were. It's just the one I remember sticking
I
out, not liking. So
I watched The Gray Man last summer. I thought it was okay, but it wasn't like my favorite movie per se. I mean, Seth, I'm about like you. When they got to like the airplane scene, I was like, "What the heck?" Because it just looked like they didn't put
yeah,
enough time into editing it. Because honestly, I was like the editing of the plane scene was kind of bad. But honestly, I like the actress who was in the movie. And they
was it
Arms.
Anna de Armas?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, Anna
Anna
De
de
Armas
Armas.
was in it.
yeah. She was in it for just a
Well,
little bit.
she's got a few assets going for her, but that's about it.
hmm
Yeah,
But that's all I'll say about the Great Man. So,
Money Plane.
yeah.
Yeah, I
from
think that was definitely like a movie that came and went because that was a movie where like you heard about it for 2 weeks and everybody was talking about you got to see the Gray Man, you got to see the Gray Man, and until you like mentioned it just now, I completely forgot about it. So
yeah, I did
Yeah.
too.
there's so
I
many of
And I had to
those.
think real hard about that. Like if I, like I said, I'm sure there were plenty of horrible movies out this year. It's just like I never bothered to watch any of them, so I can't really accurately say for a whole lot. But
hmm
right, right. Um, for me, I'll mention two, but I'm not gonna talk about it. TJ, I will say Thor: Love and Thunder. That was not very good. Uh, the one thing I'll say about Thor: Love and Thunder, I hated that they just kill off Jane Foster. I mean, why? Why would you do that? You know, I go watch Waititi. If you're watching this, why?
No, but now,
Yeah.
see, if the movie was good, like everything else was good, and then they did that, I'd be like, fine. But when you
Right.
combine that with everything else, it's just
When you
I
make
mean,
everything a joke for 90 minutes and then in the last like 10% of the movie you ask people to care, like no, like
there we
this
go.
right.
this is a joke. Come on. Like
Yeah.
don't ask
It's
me to get
just
emotional whenever you've just been throwing screaming goats and like the equivalent of like fart jokes at me for, 90 minutes or however long. So, yeah.
And I haven't seen that movie, but isn't there like
oh
a don't they go to like a bar or something, but it's like Thanos' gauntlet or something like that? The whole
Yeah,
joke.
yeah.
It's like in their world, Thanos is basically Hitler. Like he just genocided half the population of the Earth. Why are you making like a little restaurant out of it?
that was weird.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely forgot. Yeah, that movie was I
And
saw it
it's just like
twice
going to
too.
like a
Did
Ooh.
you? I only saw it just one time. I remember. I think I said in the Thor: Love and Thunder episode. We watched it the day after my birthday.
Hmm.
That was when I turned 21. I was like,
I'm
yeah,
so
let's go see
sorry.
Thor. No problems. Um,
disappointing birthday present. Yeah.
Yep.
there you go. um, I would say one of my least favorite movies of this year. I mean, obviously, Morbius is definitely the greatest movie ever. Why not that? But no,
Yeah. That's not.
if I had to pick the worst per se, I had to think about it a little bit. I had to go with "Don't Worry, Darling." Oh my God, don't. I mean, it's.
Oh my
I
goodness,
watched
Jesse
it.
hates women. Jesse
No,
hates
it's not.
women.
Are you
Not,
misogynistic?
no, it's just that I was
If you
watching.
hate a movie that was directed by a female director, it means you hate women.
No, that's not that.
If you didn't
No, no,
watch
no, I know.
Bros, you're homophobic too.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
you didn't
Jesse,
watch
didn't you
Bros?
like Bros?
I'm never watching Bros. I'm never watching that.
Yeah, I
No,
heard that was
no,
very good.
don't worry, darling. It's just I was expecting it to be more like a mystery. I mean, it was a mystery, but it wasn't exactly like the mystery that you're thinking it would. You know, because I know I'm not sure you guys seen it, but I mean, honestly, I just wasn't. I don't know. Some of the parts in the movie, it just didn't really work for me. I mean, honestly, it's kind of like how it was with Thor: Love and Thunder. It was kind of forgetful in some ways. Like,
Mhm.
no, I'm not a big Harry Styles fan. I do like the actress, the blonde chick, Florence.
Florence Pugh.
Yeah, Florence Pugh. I think she's done good. I mean, I haven't seen her in much. I mean, I think if she makes more movies, I think she'll become one of the top stars because
She she
I
had
really
a
did like I really did like her in Black Widow. So
Yeah, she had a pretty good streak there for a while. I liked her like ever since like Fighting with My Family, and then I liked her in Black Widow. She was on the Hawkeye show playing the same character. She was in that Little Women movie, I think, which I didn't
I
see.
haven't seen it.
I wasn't really interested in Little Women,
Yeah.
but
That seems like it'd be right up your alley. Yeah.
yeah, I
But
mean, like Greta Gerwig, she's a good director, but I'm not interested in watching a movie that's been made like 11 times.
right. But
Yeah.
that's my final thoughts on Don't Worry, Darling. And Trent, last but not least, what is
I
it?
mean, I could easily say Thor: Love and Thunder, but we've kind of beat that dead horse. So I'm gonna go with a movie that kind of disappointed me, and that is Amsterdam. Whenever I
Yeah.
saw, I wasn't like really excited about it, but whenever I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, this looks interesting. This looks new. This is kind of fresh, you know. And then I watched it whenever it went to HBO Max because I missed it in theaters, which you know, kind of grateful for that because whenever I finally watched it, I was like, there really isn't much to this. It's like
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I liked about it was Christian Bale's accent, and that was it. Like,
Yeah.
I thought it was funny, like how he played the character, but literally, like, I didn't really enjoy much else from the movie. It was kind of like, I don't know, it was very cold, and like all the characters were, I don't know, like it was a great cast, but they weren't really given much to work with. I can't really explain it. It was just like once the movie was over, like I just felt numb. You know,
Right.
like the movie did nothing for me, and I'll probably never watch it again. And
Um.
a lot of people are saying it was just like Oscar bait. Who's to say? But yeah, it just kind of seemed like one of those. Um,
I would say this year looked really bad on Margot Robbie because I really like her as an actress. I mean, especially Harley Quinn. She does great as Harley Quinn. That's just my opinion. It's just that I think this year, when the Amsterdam movie came out and Babylon, them two were bombs at the box office. So I
Hmm.
think Margot had a pretty bad year when it comes to movies. I mean, of course, Babylon is definitely a way better movie than Amsterdam was.
Yeah,
When I watched
I will say that. Yeah,
when I watched Amsterdam, I was kind of interested because he had an all-star cast, like you said, Christian Bale, Marco Robbie, Denzel Washington's son, John David, I think his name is,
yeah.
Robert De
John David
Niro, Rami Malek.
Washington, Rami
Yeah,
Malek was in it. Yeah, Taylor
yeah.
Swift. The
Oh yeah, for just a little bit.
one. Okay, I don't know if you guys are like care about like Amsterdam spoilers.
No.
But like one good thing
Uh,
I will say about Amsterdam is kind of funny. You get to see Taylor Swift like run over by a car, and it's like it's very like they CG'd it or something. I don't know, but obviously, but like you see her like get crushed. Like it's and it's all like out of nowhere too. So that was
right.
kind of like I wouldn't say funny, but you know, just like it's not something you usually see.
Yeah. But other than that, I thought the movie on Amsterdam, I thought the movie was kind of boring, honestly.
Yeah. Very boring, forgettable. Never really like the ending didn't really like amount to anything either. Robert De Niro was wasted. A lot of wasted like performances. Like
Yeah.
you look back at the cast list, and you're like, oh yeah, that person was in it, but like I don't remember their character. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if I had
It's
to
a
pick,
miss.
not a terrible movie, probably definitely not the worst movie that came out in 2022, but for me, like Amsterdam was probably like the movie I cared the least about, besides Thor: Love and Thunder this year that I saw. So
Well,
yeah,
great.
lot of great discussion, a lot of movies being thrown out there. So you know, there's definitely something in here for us all to like agree on. Maybe you, if you were out there, agree on or disagree on. We'd love to hear your comments. There's definitely there's a lot of opinions being thrown around here, so there's probably something you can react to. But
Yeah. TJ, Seth, if there's any final words before we wrap this up?
No,
Yeah.
except again, just thanks for having me on. It's always nice to be able to talk with you. Is this like the most we've had in like one show before, one podcast?
I think
It
so.
is.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think
It
we've ever
is.
had
Oh,
like the full box here. So
well,
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
cool.
so it
yeah.
was actually a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
yeah, we
Hey,
should do it
applause to
again.
that, guys.
Yeah.
Applause to that. So, yeah. Yeah. It's definitely. I mean, it definitely was a good topic when it comes to movies this year. This year, like I said, some movies were bad, but yeah, like Trent said, definitely put down your hate comments or disagree. There's something you gotta disagree with. So come on, we like to
yeah.
hear them. So
That's why we do this. We do this for you. So
there you go. Well, if there's nothing else to say, thank you all again for clicking into a only obstacle podcast. This is Jesse Johns.
this is Trent Kelsey.
This is TJ Leeson.
And this is Keth Cirkman.
And away we go.
Goodbye.